one of our clocks is off.
That one is a couple minutes fast.
Cell phone has a few things.
This one here says it's 6:04, 6:03.
All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to call this September 21st, 2023 Board of Aldermen meeting to order. Please join me for the pledge allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, please.
Alderman Hoffman.
Here.
Alderman Schuman.
Here.
Alderman Ross.
Here.
Alderman Rucker.
Here.
Alderman Rose.
Here.
Alderman Osteen.
Here.
Mayor Harmison.
Here. All right, we do have a quorum. We move on to the citizens' communication. This is a time set aside on the agenda for citizens and visitors to address the mayor and the board on any topic that is not a public hearing. For those here in person, the speakers will be restricted to 3 minutes unless otherwise permitted. Minutes may not be donated or transferred from one speaker to another. Visitors attending via online will be in listen-only mode. Any questions or comments for the mayor and the board may be sent to the city clerk at tberreth@osagebeach.org no later than 10 a.m. on the board meeting date, the first and third Thursday of each month. Submitted questions or comments may be read during the citizens' communications section of the agenda. The Board of Aldermen will not take any action on any item not listed on the agenda, nor will it respond to questions, although staff may be directed to respond at a later time. The mayor and the Board of Aldermen welcome and value input and feedback from the public. Is there anyone here in person who would like to address the board? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Has the board had a chance to review the minutes of the Alderman meeting September 7th and the bills list September 21st? Do you have any comments, questions, or changes? Or if not, do you have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, consent agenda approved. All right, we have one item on the unfinished business tonight. It's Bill 23-66, an ordinance of the city of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with All Clear Pumping and Sewer LLC for the gravity sewer CCTV and cleaning Phase 1 project in amount not to exceed $41,529.50. This is the second reading. Assistant City Administrator Mike Welty, please.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. I have nothing to add.
All right, any other comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the second reading?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Hoffman, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Schuman, roll call, please.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
Alderman Rose.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Alderman Schuman.
Yes.
Alderman Hoffman.
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. All right, new business. Bill 23-69 is an ordinance of the city of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending ordinance number 22.94, adopting the 2023 annual operating budget, transfer of funds for sewer fund necessary expenses. This is the first reading. City Administrator Gina Woods, please.
Yes, Mayor, members of the board. This is a budget amendment that kind of collects a few items that have been previously approved. We just needed time to kind of reconcile the sewer fund. It affects maintenance and support services, professional services, and repair of system. Total amendments, as stated in the summary sheets, a little over 1.2 million. However, we have identified nearly $1 million worth of projects that are not going to be finished this year and/or pushed into next year. So as far as cash flow is concerned, that will assist with covering these amendments. In addition, some of our revenue line items are coming in more and some other line item savings. So I do not have an issue or concern at this point as far as cash flow to have these budget amendments approved.
All right, any comments or questions from the board? See, Alderman Rucker.
Motion to approve.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, Alderman Osteen beat you, I talked about here. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, no opposed. First reading passes. Next, we have Bill 23-70, an ordinance of the city of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing expenditure of funds for promotional efforts to the Lodge 2517 Veterans Parade event support request in an amount not to exceed $2,000. This is the first reading. Again, city administrator, you may-
Yes, Mayor, members of the board. I received the application for this year's Veterans Day Parade, which we have in the past supported this. The request is again this year for $2,000. This is the, I believe, third, if I noted that, third request. The account still has budgeted funds and request approval.
Any comments or questions from the board? Alderman Ousting.
Just one for Gina. Off the top of your head, can you remind me what else we usually on an annual basis that's remaining that we normally contribute to?
I do not think I expect anything else remaining, because the big ones that historically come around, like Bike Fest, this parade, the Arts Council was new this year, and whatever other one we did.
Pub crawl, but it's early in the year. Pub crawl,
Yeah,
sometimes
I
they
think
come.
sometimes they'll come. I can't think of anything in the next 3 months, any big event that I would be pending, so.
Okay, I'm just curious, because usually we
Yeah.
budget based on
It's first
previous
come,
year's
first served,
requests.
but we see
Yeah.
some, historical consistency, so.
That's all, thank you.
All right, any other comments or questions? Alderman Rucker.
Just some inconsistency. The request is for $2,000 on the request for support. According to the second page of that, it says the total budget amount is $5,000. So they're requesting $2,000 for a $5,000 project. According to the budget, which they're supposed to present, which is supposed to be line itemed and is not very line item to me. In their letter, they're saying that it's going to be $4,000 for the event, not $5,000. And again, my question, what is expenditures and what is income? They talk about food, pop, beer, water, et cetera. Is that being given to everybody at the end of the parade? Are they selling that?
I can answer part of that. I go every year. The food, the pop, the water is given to them. The beer is for purchase of the Elk Lodge side.
Okay, it's just not very clear. And I will just say, this event's been multiple years, and again, I only support this fund to be used to kick off events, and this is a good event. I'm not saying it's not, but I think we should be looking at helping events get started, not continually supporting them year after year after year after year. That's all I have to say.
All right, any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the first reading?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Hoffman, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Ross. Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Isn't first reading just consensus, then second reading would be roll call?
I believe I can call for a roll call.
That's a prerogative that anybody on the board has to ask for a roll call, to be very
Okay.
honest.
Alderman Rose.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
No.
Alderman Schuman.
Yes.
Alderman Hoffman.
Yes.
All right, first reading passes.
Or Alderman Ousting, I'm so sorry. My bad.
Yes.
I started with you first last
All
time.
right, first reading passes. All right, next we're going to move on to Bill 23-71, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, accepting Amy Lane into the city inventory. This is the first and second reading. Assistant City Administrator Mike Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. Construction for Amy Lane was complete in August. The road is ready to be accepted into inventory. All final inspections have been done and passed. I do recommend approval.
All right, comments or questions from the board? Alderman Rucker.
Did this road have special situation? I mean, does it meet because some roads we approve, because they're,
No, it does not meet our
Not
guidelines
quite,
exactly. I don't believe it has curb and gutter. But I'd have to check on that to make sure. But no, it was not a road that was brought all the way up to our design guidelines, but very close.
okay.
Anyone else? Seeing that, motion to approve first reading.
Motion to approve.
Alderman Hoffman, second.
Second.
Alderman Rose. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, first reading passes. Second reading, same bill, 23-71, ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, accepting Amy Lane into the city inventory. Second reading. Any additional comments or questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve second reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Rucker, roll call, please.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Alderman Schuman.
Yes.
Alderman Hoffman.
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
Alderman Rose.
yes,
All right, second reading also passes. Moving on to Bill 23-72, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with Three Tree Enterprises LLC for the various roof replacement projects at Lacey Fine Airport, an amount not to exceed $74,682. Also the first and second reading. Mike Welty, please.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. In late December of '22, we did have a bad windstorm at Lacey Fine, which did damage to several of the roofs and awnings to the buildings out there. We had started, we had this kind of ready to bid out in the spring, but we struggled very, very much with finding contractors that would bid on it. And we finally were able to reach out to some and get some security that we were going to get some bids. And so we went ahead and moved forward with it. It is ready to go. Unfortunately, we did only receive the one bid. That bid was for $74,682. The insurance claim was made, and the claim report is attached if you have any questions on that. But Three Tree Enterprises or 316 Exteriors, still not sure exactly which name is right. I've checked their references. We've got no problems with it, and they are ready to go. I do recommend approval.
Comments from the board? Alderman Osteen.
Mike, what is the total on our insurance claim on this?
I believe our insurance claim was right around $50,000.
Okay.
Michael, is that right?
The check amount was 58 something.
Okay, a little higher than that then.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Shu. All those in favor?
Aye.
First reading passes. Second reading, same bill, 23-72, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with Three Tree Enterprises LLC for the various roof replacement project at Lacey Fine Airport, an amount not to exceed $74,682. This is the second reading. Any other thoughts anybody came up with in the last couple minutes? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve second reading?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Rucker, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Ross, roll call, please.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Alderman Schuman.
Yes.
Alderman Hoffman.
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
Alderman Rose.
yes,
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
All right, second reading also passes. Next bill, 23-73, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, amending Osage Beach Code of Ordinance Sections 115.010 definitions, 115.410 evaluation of certain appointed officials, 125.020 definitions, 135.010 definitions, and adding new Article 12, City Engineer with Sections 115.500 appointment term, qualifications, and 115.510 duties. This is the first reading. Tina Woodley.
Yes, Mayor and members of the board. Based on the last meeting's discussion and even prior discussion, I went ahead and put together ordinances, and I thought it was going to be an easy couple paragraphs, but come to find out there's several sections that would need to be added if it's the desire of the board to make this an appointed position. If it's not appointed, it's right now set up to just be a hired position. So I've included it in all the necessary topics and definitions if it's the desire to move that direction.
All right, comments and questions from the board? Alderman Rucker.
This is not necessarily whether we are going to hire the engineer or not. This is that we're going to hire the engineer no matter what. It's either going to be an appointed position or non-appointed. Is that correct?
Correct. The position's already funded in the budget back from April. Right now, it's set up as an exempt salary under FSLA, but it is under the hired, which would be under all the rules and regulations of Chapter 125.
Thank you. I just want to say I support leaving it as a non-appointed position as is. I cannot support this ordinance.
All right, any other comments or questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve first reading?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Schuman, all those in favor?
Aye.
aye,
All those opposed?
No.
roll call, please.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Rocker?
Was
Yes.
it Kelly?
We're doing roll call vote.
Alderman Schuman?
Yes is to
Yes is to make it an appointed position.
make an appointment, but really, we're saying yes to keep this on the docket. too.
No.
We're saying
No.
yes to make it an appointed position.
I don't know, my question, I guess I should direct this to Cole, is this is a first reading, second reading, I could have a different vote, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Then yes.
Alderman Schuman?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker?
No.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
Alderman Rose?
Yes.
Alderman Osteen?
No.
4-2? All right, first reading carries. All right, next we're going to move on to the motion to approve the sale of city surplus from multiple departments. City Administrator, City Assistant City Administrator, Mike Welty, please.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. Attached, you will find a complete list of all the items the staff is asking to either sell, scrap, or dispose of. I will say that normally, I do this twice a year, but under the circumstances, I have been very pressed for time, and this is going to be the only sale that we have this year. And I do want to thank April White, because if she hadn't helped me with this, I'd never gotten it to this point. I do recommend approval, though.
All right, do I have any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Thompson, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the last item on our new business is a motion to accept a petition for placement of a new street light on Broadway Bay. Mike Welty, please.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. Mayor, it's not one, it's about 10. This is the summer of streetlight petitions, right? This is the third one we've dealt with this summer. This one was a little different, and I questioned it with the attorney, but we decided to move it forward for the board's recommendation. There are no streetlights on Broadwater Bay right now at all. If we were to follow our design guidelines, we would have to put around 10 streetlights on the road, and that would cost us around $180,000 to do. Now, I have tentatively put this in the budget for next year, pending how this turns out tonight. I can tell you that the residents would be fine with 5 or 4 if we wanted to move forward and not follow our design guidelines, which I think you guys can do. We could go lower and they'd be just fine with that. But I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that the residents are not necessarily asking for 10, but our design guidelines would call for 10. That's all I have.
All right, comments from the board? Alderman Osteen, sorry.
My,
Together, I was stuck with who to call first.
as just a refresher, isn't our guideline state that streetlights within every 300 feet?
I believe it's 400.
400? Okay. Just for reference moving forward, since there are 0, obviously then we're behind the times what we should have there to begin with. So yeah, I just want to reiterate that is our guideline, streetlights on any road in city inventory within X amount of feet of each other. So that's all.
Alderman Ross?
So 2 or 3 things. One, I think also that those guidelines also don't they also reference intersections too?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Right, so they should be at the intersections. So the question, Mike, you said Broadwater Bay, which I think you're talking about the neighborhood in general, is that right?
The street, Broadwater Bay, the street.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out exactly where that is, I'm sorry. Maybe Google's wrong. Are we talking about Broadwater Lane by chance?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and does that also include Bayview Court, Locust Court, and there's another one in there too, or is it just Broadwater Lane?
Just Broadwater.
Interesting,
That's
because
the-
most of Broadwater Lane doesn't even have houses on it. So this starts basically at the, what is it, Sycamore Valley Road and goes down the hill, back up the hill.
Yes, sir.
And just hits the first few houses, right?
There's a map on 151 of the packet.
Yeah, but I couldn't make much sense of that map, to tell you the truth. I don't know if anybody else had that trouble.
That's Broadwater.
The majority of the houses are down towards the end, both the cul-de-sacs
Right, Locust and Bayview.
Will be completely developed out by the end of next year because there's houses going on the remaining 2 lots. I don't believe that this includes anything on the cul-de-sacs, which would complete the
So those are
the
kind of,
subdivision itself.
the cul-de-sacs, I guess, and I'm on Google, so but I assume you're talking about the Bayview Court or the Locust Court dead end?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. And so you came up with $180,000, and I was involved with this in our neighborhood years and years ago. I was under the impression that Ameren would put the infrastructure in as long as we rented the streetlights versus us owning the streetlights.
We can certainly do that if that's what you want to do, but the board has directed us to own streetlights. And so that is the direction that I'm going. But Alderman Ross is right. If you guys wanted me to go and get a price to have to rent them or lease them from Ameren, we could do that. But the problem with that is that you are then stuck paying the yearly maintenance fee, whether or not you need maintenance on those lights or not. Whereas the way that we have transitioned to is to have our transportation department take care of all the streetlights, own them ourselves, do the maintenance on them ourselves. So if the board so choose, I could be more than happy to reach out to Ameren and investigate that piece as well.
Well, I would just say this, many times it's situational. In other words, if it takes let's just say it costs $180,000, and I have no idea what the math is, but let's say it takes 30 years for us to break even on that investment, I would be much better off to have Ameren install them, and 30 years from now, maybe we can renegotiate or something, versus that money, because, it's how best to utilize the money and your best return on investment. The other concern that I have, to be quite honest, is that if this is just on Broadwater Lane, I don't think that it's going to, I noticed a lot of the addresses on the application are from the as Carrie put it, the cul-de-sacs or the other streets. And while I agree that that's a dark neighborhood to get into, I drove up and down it before, I think what they would really like is have their streets that they live on lit to some degree. So I'm not sure we're going far enough. But
We may
I
not now.
fully, I'll just, if I don't mind, I fully support streetlights, at least every 400 feet. Sometimes that's not even enough in my mind. And I think from a safety standpoint and a security standpoint that it'd be very hard to have too many. And I'll leave it at that.
Just one comment, sir. I did ask Lois Donegan that question about Broadwater Bay versus some of the other streets. And her response was, well, everybody walks up and down Broadwater.
Okay.
And so that's what they told me.
Okay.
So.
Any other comments, Alderman?
I have a question. Do you know, I know obviously you don't know from talking to Ameren, but what the average we were paying for annual maintenance fee, is that per light or is that per section, or I don't know if we know what.
I'm sorry, Kelly, I don't have that information off the
Okay.
top of my head, but I can try
That's fine. I
and
didn't
find
know
it
if it was
out.
like $100 a year or a couple thousand, that would,
The last we did in the contract, I think if you look, it's around $14 or $15 a month per light that they own.
Somewhere between 11 to 40, it depends on the style of
oh,
light.
okay, so
and
it's
some
not
of
an
the
annual,
older
it's a
ones.
monthly fee
Yeah,
versus
it's a
an
monthly
annual.
fee, you can multiply it out.
Okay.
But it was like, I think around, I'm gonna call it, just to be conservative, $15 a month times 12, so you're talking about what?
I think there's a
150 bucks?
maintenance fee on top of that as well, but I will have
okay,
to
maybe.
look into it.
Okay.
Alderman Hoffman?
Mike, do you feel like our people are taxed heavily, but, do we have the resources to handle this ourselves? Or are we putting stress on our?
No, we would not install these poles. We would either, as Richard said, we would either go to Ameren and have them install them, or we would hire a private contractor to install our own.
When we maintain our lights, we'd be maintaining them, right?
Yes.
We have manpower to do.
We have our own bucket truck, and we already own all of the lights on the Parkway, all the lights on Industrial, all the lights on Mace. We will own all the lights on Osage Beach Road when that's complete next year. Passover. But there are still pockets, and I know Richard knows this too, there's still pockets that are owned by Ameren throughout the city.
I think he's just making sure that this wouldn't put additional stress and like we wouldn't be able to maintain these
You have the
ones.
manpower to handle this.
Yes, sir.
Adding these in.
Anyone else? Alderman Rucker?
Couple things. So I understand we still have development going on in there, because as was brought out, we don't have homes all the way up and down, because I was going to go over to the street and just didn't do it. So I'm not familiar with it off my head. So is there a lot of lots open?
No, I wouldn't say that there's a lot of lots open between Sycamore Valley and basically where you get into Broadwater is larger properties that are topographically challenging that you really won't. I tell you what, it would take some money to do, which is why they haven't been developed. I would say within the development, there is probably, and I'm just shooting from the hip, going by the cul-de-sac, all the lakefront is done, and most of those cul-de-sacs are done, but I believe there's probably 4 to 6 undeveloped lots within there that, I mean, obviously the number of lights would be affected because they are already surveyed out and they're platted, so you've got the same distances. So, you know, whatever the appropriate number would be today would be the same number even if they, you know, built out.
Help me if you will, Carrie. I don't know how to answer the question other than be blunt. Why isn't there lights now? Is this an option when somebody develops?
Well, if they were to build it today, then yes, they put up streetlights. We require them within our code. But Broadwater Bay is one that was done prior to us having design guidelines and most of our requirements by way of zoning and engineering. So we actually have a lot of subdivisions that we own the streets that don't have complete, you know, street lighting. So if the goal is to get all of those covered, which it probably should be, you know, this is a first step, but there was not a requirement for them to put in streetlights when the development was done.
Mike, it's my memory serves me correct. This is an item that we have on the project list as far as streetlight guidelines. It's listed on our things that we're looking to do.
Yes, it is.
It's also, again, going back quite some time, I thought where we were at with this was we had a Cochran bring us some information, and if I remember Alderman Ross's comments at that time was, we need to go down to Mace Road where we can read a newspaper in the middle of the night because there was so much lighting down there. And we all went individually on a field trip and came back, and I can't remember the other road that we were asked to compare it to. Passover is what I thought, but I couldn't remember it. And I thought we came up with the fact that Mace was way too bright and Passover was probably okay or maybe a little bit more. And that's where I thought we left it, and now we're still waiting to have that completed. The reason I bring all that up is because are we done? Are we satisfied with our guidelines? I guess I asked the board that. And then the follow-up to that is, I'm in favor of lighting, okay? I'd like to see it done, but also if you remember, or also from what I understand in the reading, all we are doing tonight is approving the request. We're not approving doing it. We can, I'm not saying we push it off for 10 years, but we approve it, we're going to do something, and then what that something is later what we can decide. So with all that being said, I'd like to get this guideline on this lighting thing and see what that does. And then also I think it sounds like to me there's some places down there that we do need some lighting, and how much and where I don't know. And so anyway, I'm going to be in favor of it, but there's some more work for us to do on this project here.
I'm hoping to be able to bring streetlight and sidewalk discussions to the board in October or November. So that is coming. That's on my list, and as I get a little caught up here, that's one of the priorities is for me to come back around to that and get those kind of buttoned up for you guys, or at least restart the conversation and see where it goes. So,
Mike, I got a couple questions. This is the first I knew Ameren was a possibility. Were you saying around $15 a pole?
It's somewhere between 11 and 15. Richard, the newer ones and latest ones are higher, but at one time we had some that were, but yeah.
Per month? Okay.
Per pole per month, and they maintain.
Because I was just doing some quick math here, and it's actually ironically figured out with Alderman Ross's question. So $15 a pole, 10 poles, you're talking about $150 a month, $1,800 a year, that's 100 years for that 180,000.
I would caution,
Even if their maintenance was double, that's still 50 years. I mean, it just sounds like.
I would caution you until I can get the maintenance costs nailed down. I do believe that Gina and Richard are right as far as the monthly cost, but I seem to remember that there is another cost for having them maintaining it, and I want to verify that before I can tell you for sure.
But to Alderman Rucker's point, this is just approving that they need them. How we pay for them later is a different subject, so that was just a question I was thinking, 100 years, that it's a no-brainer that we grant it. All right, any other comments or questions on the motion? All those, do I have a
Motion to approve.
do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion is approved. All right, moving on to staff communications. Start with City Administrator. Gina Wood, please.
Yes, member of the board, a couple things. First, on the update list, I know Bob brought this up before. I do state on my incentive guidelines that remain in progress. I am working on those simultaneously with budget. So obviously budget's going to be a big priority for me in the next 3 weeks. But hopefully by the end of the year, we can start the new year with some guidelines. As far as a couple other items on mine, Tantera, we're really waiting on all the legalities and path that way. And the replacement schedule for the Joint Sewer Treatment Board, I know that I just got an email today, I think, that makes I need to start working on that. So that's
That's what
far
I want
as-
to talk to you about after the meeting.
Okay, that's my update there. I sent out an email also yesterday, I think, get my days mixed up, about the loggers discussion. I know that following our short presentation, we've still got a lot to consider, and I think a workshop's a very good idea, not only so the board can work out things, but employees can also come questions. I would like to try to do that January, no later than February, just so we can pass the holidays. And so in the meantime, and I know Kevin already has done this, if you want to sit down with Mike or email Mike Ray or email him or me, what questions or things that you want to ensure that we get addressed. We may not have the answers for you, but questions you have are things that you want to ensure that we address when we do so working on this workshop. Lots to consider. I know lots on the ICMA or Mission Square side, and we're going to do some calculations and some, current employee status on the two different sides. And I know Mike with budget as well, we want staff to have enough time to be able to do that data. So I just don't want to overlook something. So in the next month or so, think about that. Shoot us questions just so we don't miss anything. And like I said in the email too, I know everybody's busy and you may not know what you're doing in January, February, but if you know there's specific times you are not going to be here, like a whole week or something, because I know with holidays and vacation, please let me know that. And closer to the end of the year, we'll start scheduling a date. But I know some people travel, and I know it's a good time to go to the beach in January and February. So let me know that so I can, it's hard to schedule everybody.
2 months.
The other thing, Eric Gregory could not make it tonight, but he wanted me to pass on a few things for you. First, we had our rummage sale last Saturday. He wanted to thank the vendors and all the shoppers. It was a really great turnout. I think every year it gets bigger and better. I know our GIS gentleman, Thomas, did a map, and we had over 500 hits just on that map we put online that people want to know the addresses. So technology has definitely benefited us this year in those type of things. Food Truck Festival is this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Like I said on the radio today, the weather's a little sketchy on Sunday, so get there early and get your food, because we may get a little rained out on Sunday, but Saturday I think the weather's going to be pretty good. It'll probably be the biggest one we've had yet, but don't forget to check that out both days if it doesn't rain. The next big event's the Fall Festival, October 14th. For those online or listening, we are still accepting vendor applications if you want to be a vendor. The big highlight for the festival this year is the Dragon Smoke Barbecue Competition. Be 30 teams. I think we are still taking a few teams. So even if you're not competing, there will be an opportunity to eat some barbecue as well. He wanted me to thank the LCTC for helping organize the barbecue event. They did it, their graphics art department, has done the thing, which I know, I've got a copy of this. I know you guys have probably already seen it before. We have 25 billboards across Missouri up already, and we'll have stuff there. So please mark your calendars for the 14th. They also did the unique trophies. So thanks to the mayor who had those really cool chopping boards. We used those with the Dragon Smoke competition for a trophy. So we thought that was a really good idea that had the Osage Beach on there too. Check out the website. The website has all the information for the applications for vendors, festival, barbecue competition, as well as the deer hunt has officially started. So if there's hunters or people that also, you can sign up online as well. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Assistant City Administrator Mike Welke.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. I do have a couple of updates on my list as well. First of all, the emergency generator backup plan for the city, that generator is in the budget for 2024. When we purchase the generator, we are going to purchase and install every different size plug so that that generator can be used no matter the station that we go to. It will also be able to take care of our wells. So that is taken care of and in the budget, assuming approval. Moving down under the project update, lift station panel replacement, that is also in the budget. We are starting with, I think, 6 to 8 next year. These are the ones that were in the ARPA grant that we didn't get, so that's where we're starting. Obviously, we have 88 of the big stations, though, so that's just the first year as we move through and prioritize those. And then last but not least, Tantera Master Plan infrastructure. We're simply following our plan as far as what was done in the assessment and what was supposed to be budgeted in '24 for that. So that includes the Elbow K sewer redesign project and the redesign and adding a generator to Walker's K. Those two projects are going to move forward. We're also going to be doing some manhole inspection, some manhole repair, some easement work as well next year. So those 3 items, that's the best update I can give you on those. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. City Clerk, Kara Barth.
I don't have
Kara
anything.
Barrett.
Funny guy. I don't have anything tonight, thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney, Cole Bradley.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. One update, we did propose and receive a recommendation for approval of ordinances and the new design guidelines as they pertain to power cuts and stormwater at the Planning Commission meeting last week. Dave presented the guidelines, I presented the ordinances. They will be to you at our next board meeting for discussion and hopefully approval. If you have any questions or input or suggested edits, some of this is pretty fresh, whole cloth. As you saw from the email I sent you, the ordinances are a blow it up and start over point of view. So anybody with any questions or things you'd like to see or like to not see, I'm happy to take that input, but they will be on the agenda first meeting in October. Other than that, I've been a little busier than usual with prosecuting. We've had court twice in the last 4 business days. But that's because I'm out of town next week when our second court date of the month normally is. I'm going to the International Municipal Lawyers Association meeting in California. And Judge Smith was kind enough to move court up a week to accommodate my schedule. So I will be there and we'll come back with all sorts of hippie-trippy California ideas for you.
Yeah, keep it there.
I'm kidding.
No.
All right, Chief Davis.
Our new police officer graduated academy on Thursday, started with us on Bike Fest Friday. So
Still
nothing
here?
like jumping in. Yeah, and she came back to work today. Awesome. So she jumped in both feet. We have a new dispatcher starting, another new dispatcher in October 11th. So has no experience, so we'll be starting her in. Working with Cole on teeing up a ordinance for the texting while driving ban that the state just passed that went into effect. Not a big hurry for enforcement because we can't write tickets or anything on it till 25. So they get a whole year and a half of warnings. But working on that. That should be in the next meeting or two. I tweaked some stuff on it and sent it back to Cole for review again. So, Bike Fest, pretty uneventful for us. Busy, but there are a lot of people in town, but nothing too major, and only a couple bike crashes, and they weren't serious at all here. So that's all I got.
Thank you very much. All right, building official, Ron White.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the board. I don't have anything on the update list, but I will give you a couple of updates. Mainly since Cochran's not here, the City Hall improvement project is, getting close. Everything has been going fine on that. Couple of the big questions that I've received or that we have received, and I'll let you guys know in case you get the questions. The accessible parking spaces out there, I've had a lot of people from City Hall and even some folks from outside ask about the color of the markings on the pavement, why they're yellow and not blue. I was also of the opinion that those needed to be blue. However, I was wrong. The markings on the pavement are only to contrast the color of the pavement. And Cochrane, it was in their design, said that yellow contrasts black better than blue does, so they went with that. The only blue sign that is required is that which is posted in front of the spot. The sign's got to be the international symbol with the blue and the white. The other question that I have received is on the new emergency vehicle exit. That is exit only, and there will be signs saying that it is for emergency vehicle use only. That's all I have. The only other thing is we have been kicking out a lot of permits lately. Sorry that my reports are a little late or lacking in Gina's report and online. We've had some folks out of the office for a little while, and I am trying to learn how to reproduce those reports once again, but we did burn up a laminating machine because we laminate all of our permits, so I think that's a good sign.
Very good.
Thank you.
City planner, Gary Patterson.
Oh, going out of order tonight.
Well, actually, there's an order I started, and then I started going back to the other one, so I thought it was just.
Well, I don't have anything from a planning perspective, other than what Ron said. This town is busy, very busy. But I do, even though Gina touched on the barbecue competition and fall festival, want to let you all know that Eric and I attended a barbecue competition in Centralia a couple of Saturdays ago and was able to shadow our KCBS sponsor that will be here for our event. Got to spend time and see how everything went. We are very much looking forward to what we feel like is going to be a great event, exciting event for us. Ours is certainly going to be a very different animal from what they have, in that we will have the fall festival going at the same time. So we'll have the vendors and the band and everything going at the same time. While also, if you pay to get into the barbecue portion, you will be able to eat barbecue. Which is sometimes not available at a lot of these events. So our local barbecue restaurants and Deerbergs have really jumped in, along with Nick's True Value, to be a big part of our event. And we look forward to having hopefully a bunch of citizens and visitors and having the opportunity to show off some of our businesses. So that's something we're really looking forward to, Mayor. And that's all I have tonight.
Airport, I can't talk.
Yeah, I have nothing. Thank you.
All right, human resource, Michael Ray.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. A few updates for you. Like mentioned earlier, loggers, the board heard the presentation last board meeting, workshop to be held in the future. The employee survey, the survey has been completed. I've reviewed the data, and I need to find some time to pull the data and format it in a summary for the board and city administrator. The 360 survey, we'll do a formal review of the performance evaluation process and try to figure out where the best fit for that is. We're thinking early next year. For vacancy update, currently in sewer, we're holding steady at 3 openings. As Chief mentioned, Officer Carson started on 9/15, puts us down a few and 1 SRO. For dispatch, we've got 1 in the pipeline starting October 11th. The job posting was taken down at the department's request as we don't have the amount of trainers available and we didn't want to leave applicants sitting out there in limbo. We will reopen that when we get closer to having a trainer available. Paramedic, we've got 1 full-time position that's coming. Parks and Recreation, we've got a recreation manager that may be posted in the near future. And then we'll have 2 street department full-time positions and 1 seasonal upcoming. Thank you.
Job fair on the 3rd, right?
I forgot about that. Yes, job fair on the 3rd. And I will put that out. It's currently on our website. It'll be on our Facebook page next week. And then I've got flyers that I'll put out to high traffic areas.
I encourage anybody that's listening or talking to people at job fair, have them come on out, because as you can hear, we got some nice jobs and the city is a good place to work. Spread the word, folks. Alderman Rucker.
Yes, a couple items. One, to just follow up on the job fair was one of the items I had. I received that and I took an email, blasted it to about 50, 60 folks, and just sent it around. And I will tell you that I know the last time that was done, or no, it wasn't that deal, it was the electrician. I know when the electrician thing came out, I emailed blasted that, and our pastor of our church called me and said, "What can you tell me about it?" And I said, I told him that. He said, "Well, I know somebody that is interested in that." I don't know if he ever hired. I know a person left here, but anyway. So I encourage what the mayor said. I encourage everybody here to send that out to your friends. Everybody has different circles of life. Texting while driving, I understand from what the police chief told us. My question on the city rules, do we?
Already have that in there.
Okay, we're
It's
going to be
already-
making it, even though we can't write them a ticket, we can discipline them.
Yes, and
So-
that's been in part of our policy for a while, hands-free, and we even took the pledge of the Missouri phone down, so. yeah.
What's the discipline?
Well, just part of a policy, like any policy, if employees don't follow a policy, there can be disciplinary actions. Well, the hands-free requirement in city vehicles has always been a requirement in our safety
Okay.
policy.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
misunderstood you. Our employees.
Our employees, yeah.
In reference to loggers, as Gina had mentioned, I sat down with Michael and Gina and went through quite a bit of questions and et cetera that I had with it. And I encouraged the board to do this. Just one quick thing on that. I just want you to understand, we currently put 6% into everybody's salary. And we take 6% of their salary and put that into retirement plan right now. 6%. We offer them, if they put in 1%, we'll match that 1%. So that's the program we have right now. Employees can offer more. The program that was presented by loggers was a contribution program of either 13 or 14%. That was one of the main program that they tried to really kept going back to and talking about. So we're looking at a program that is 2.5 times more expensive than what we have. So we have to realize, we have to compare apples to apples. And that was one of the challenges that I gave to staff was, okay, find us a program that will match the same amount of contribution money that we're doing now. And that's where we're at. Now, I'm not saying we don't need to look at improving the contributions to our retirement program. I'm not saying that that's not part of something I'd like to see eventually done, but at this stage of the game, we need to remember that we're comparing, a contribution plan to a benefit plan, and we have to be looking at putting them on the same page as much as we can, even though we're not going to be able to, because there's a number of benefits that our program has that they cannot produce. So anyway, there's a lot there, and that needs to be looked at and everything before we go jumping on that. Thanks, Cole, for the information. He's been helping me out, and Gina as well as as some of the staff in reference to the purchasing policy for the Joint Sewer Board, the bylaws for the Joint Sewer Board. Both those projects is completed. Cole and I and Gina have visited on the contract for the Joint Sewer Board, which is he's working on, and will be hopefully presenting that to the Joint Sewer Board for approval sometime in hopefully November, but that's going to have to go to the Alliance first before it goes there. So thank you for that work that I said I'd help out, and staff is supporting me with what I volunteered to do. Want to thank the city for allowing the MML conference. It was an extremely good conference. I had a number of classes, 6 different breakout sessions that I went to, and a number of them were, all of them were good, picked up something in all of them. One of the areas that I picked up something on was in reference to the marijuana usage at the city park. We were trying, Gene and I were discussing it, and we don't know if we allowed that down there or not. But one of the areas we have to be concerned with is if we did allow it, we also have a liquor license down there. And having a liquor license and having marijuana at the same place, you can't sell marijuana and sell liquor at the same place, but can you use marijuana where liquor is being sold? So anyway, we have some of those things that we have to look at, because at the park, we have the liquor license. So we don't want to do something down there that they can take our liquor license away. So that was just something, that was one of the classes, something I learned. And then also the stackable tax on marijuana distribution center, that is still an open issue. There was a class I took on that, and it's probably going to come down to the court case to determine if the taxes are going to be stackable or not. And so if anybody's not familiar with that, what that means, I'll be happy to visit with you afterwards to explain that. Other than that, I did, after our last meeting, go through the project list and found a number of things, a number of information that really has been reported, and a number of things that I visited with Gene on, and unfortunately,
I didn't get the list updated.
I know. Gina didn't get a chance to see some of it, because I know Bob is, and rightfully so, is upset because we're not moving away, but there's a number of things on that list that there has been stuff done, and it should be, some of those things should be removed, that we need to probably try to clean that up a little bit better. Other than that, I'll visit you all hopefully at the next meeting via Zoom. I'll be on the south rim of the Grand Canyon, so I'm not sure I'll have reception or not, so we'll have to see. So I'll see you all at the end of October when we get back from our west trip. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman Schuman.
Yes, just good to be back. I obviously missed the last couple meetings with scheduling conflicts, but good to be back. We were able to visit the yard sales, which is great. My kiddos bought a lot of stuff.
You bought a bank for me.
Huh?
You bought a bank for me.
He did. My son bought a $sign bank, and he has treasured that thing. He's been polishing it. It's really funny. But it also felt like there was a lot of bikes in town. It feels really good that it seems like from a couple years ago, our season is really expanding further into like October, November, all that. So that's really great to hear. I know we've talked a little bit about the food truck festival. It's really exciting for this weekend. I just wanted to mention, just because I've had a little trouble finding it. I've had people asking me. It is from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. So the times has been, I've had some people asking me what times it is. So you can go for breakfast, lunch, and dinner all day long. So have fun with that. I'm excited for the barbecue contest coming up. But very excited that the city's getting more events in here, and thank you to everybody for all the work that they put in on that. And that's it.
Alderman Hoffman.
I want to thank everyone that was for my initial MML conference. I had some great tour guides. Thank you very much to Tara and to Gina. They set the bar high right off the bat. It was nice. When Bob Osteen and I got there, there was a big long line, and our people had us handled and ready to go. And it was interesting right off the bat, like, oh, you guys are from Osage Beach. Why you got so many people here? We made an impact up there. And a lot of people that we talked to, they liked how many people and the camaraderie that our group had, and I think that culture boils over, and which is leading me to loggers. I know this is going to be a long, drawn-out process. There's a lot to learn. I'm very much just on the precipice of learning it, what the pros and cons are. But I will say this: we had a lot of conversations with people who are interested in relocating to the lake because it's the lake and your city seems to be going the right direction and there's opportunities down there. Do you have loggers? Oh, no, we don't. Oh, well, yeah, I'm out. And it shut down that conversation rather quick with people who were open to the idea of moving down here to take a job. And it just makes me question if ours is an A and loggers is a B, but B opens up this opportunity to keep our people and to bring new people down to roles that we can't fill, it might be a perspective that we should at least acknowledge and look at, because I think that's just as important as the percentages. That being said, it was a great conference. I want to thank everybody who went with me. And I want to give a shout out to the police. I can't believe we didn't have any big incidents over Bike Fest because I'm hearing record numbers from everyone. So that's fantastic. And I'd just like to wish Alderman Rucker a safe voyage to the largest hole in the United States.
I've got a few things this evening, but I'll make it quick. I did want to thank Eric and his staff for the great support and work they did for the city rummage sale on Saturday. I was a vendor there, and we'd have quite a bit of city employees turn out. Mr. White, Alderman Moroz, Alderman Schuman, Clerk Barrett. Yeah, it was a very good turnout. I cleaned up on it too, by the way. I had quality stuff for sale. Secondly, I just wanted to, and everybody's already done this, recognize the fellow attendees for the annual MML conference the weekend before this past weekend. Very informative. We did have a strong contingent. It's interesting to see some cities send one individual to represent their city at this conference. I don't think some localities and cities realize that, this is the one time a year that all city representatives get to say hobnob, but get to basically be in the same place at the same time. I learned more outside of the scheduled sessions and meetings than I did in them, as far as talking to individuals from other cities regarding their staffing levels, regarding their retirement programs, et cetera, which I will be sharing later at some of these meetings. My last item is to welcome Officer Carson to the force. She is our newest police officer for the city of Osage Beach. Friday was her first day on the 15th, which was the beginning of Bike Fest. She actually came to my home with Officer Leva to hand deliver my Alderman packet. Then she was at the rummage sale on Saturday. And then I ran to her on Monday. And then on my way to this meeting, I had to stop and get gas at the Casey's by Passover, and she had an individual pull over. So we said hello. I told her to stop stalking me because that is more police interaction I've had in 1 week than when I was in college.
I find that hard.
So welcome to her, but it's very unusual that, I rarely get to see police that often, but literally 4 times in a week, we've got to talk. So she's a fantastic person, so let her know that I singled her out this evening.
Hello.
That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Alderman Rose.
Just to echo, I'd like to thank the city for the opportunity once again to go to the MML conference. Again, it was extremely informative. I always enjoy going there, and I thought it was great that we did have a good attendance from our board. And other than that, Ron, the parking lot's looking a lot better. And it's coming along very nicely, yeah. And that's it, thank you.
2 or 3 quick things. One, I hope we have great weather this weekend for the Food Truck Festival, but while we're on that subject, I'm curious, is there anything you can tell us about how that's going with the Citizens Advisory Committee? Any progress or?
There is a draft ordinance circulating as we speak, and it will be on the Citizens Advisory Committee agenda on Monday the 2nd.
Cool. So has the Citizens Advisory Committee started on anything on signage, or is it still focused on food trucks?
They had a meeting on it the last time. The notes I got were very broad, so I will be at that meeting to see if we can narrow it down a little bit as far as what the notes were a lot of questions, not a lot of direction. So since I'll be
Okay.
there anyways for the food truck ordinance, we'll see if we can't flesh out a little bit more what problem we're trying to solve.
Okay. I noticed that we don't have the position of economic development specialist posted on the website.
I have not got to that, no.
So we're not, do we plan, I mean,
Yes.
I guess I'm trying to ask, it's been gone 2 or 3 weeks. Do we plan on posting that or?
So you asked me this last week, and right now, I want to assess what I feel I need out of that, and because this was a position that the board pretty much had me put on, then I want to share where I feel the gaps are, and you guys understand the job description, because I've come to find out, once again, even when we started this, my idea, what I feel operationally we need, I need to clear that with you guys. And if there's something outside that job description, because the job description I have is specific to tasks I want it done. So if there's other things that need to be you guys need to discuss that. Since it kind of entered into the org chart by the board, it either needs to exit or be changed by the board. So I'm putting my thoughts together on exactly what it is we're trying to solve operationally and what I feel we need from that from a city, and then you guys can evolve that or, yeah, so.
Okay. So we're not sure yet when we're going to decide. Is that what I think I'm hearing?
When I get my thoughts, when I assess that, I will get that to you guys and we'll plan the next step, but it does me no good right now to advertise it as it sits if there's likely going to be changes.
Okay. And then on a positive note, Wingfest thank everyone that came out.
Awesome.
A great event. It was record crowd, and for those out there in the public that might be listening, if you happen to come, I appreciate it, and if you didn't make it, it was a pretty cool event. We raised $16,000 for half for the Lake Foundation and half for the Rotary. And then Kevin, have a great trip. Enjoy it. That's all I have. Thank you.
I just have a few short things. Sorry I missed MML. Sounds like it's a great time. And so I wished I could have been there. So look forward to the next one. Wingfest, yes, was great. Bike Fest was excellent as well. Being right down there in the mix of things at Harvey's. Saturday afternoon at about 2 o'clock, we had bikes parking in our parking lot and Latitude parking lot in order to walk down to Harley because they couldn't get there. They couldn't park. And to go off with such a limited hitches was just a compliment to the city and the crew and the police. So excellent. I look forward to growing every year. We had a guy come in, and I actually worked the bar for a couple of days, and we had somebody from Poland that came here, a group of people from Louisiana that came here, and then the following week was going to be a bike fest in Rogers, Arkansas, and had a guy come in. Yeah, we were here several years ago, just my wife and I, and then the next year we brought in 4 people, and next year we have 10 people, and it is going to continue to grow, so excellent. Thank you to Mike and the street department for Passover Road. I go up and down that road quite a bit, and a year or so ago they patched it, and then it was on the list to get done in August, and they got just busy. And he said, I'll get right on. About 2 days later, I drove by and there it was. So people are already complimenting me, so thank you. And another thing I'll compliment too is kind of funny because Kim and I a lot of times walk from Harmony's down, we'll go a couple miles down, a couple miles back. And she always laughs because if I see grass that's growing or trash or wires, and I take a picture, I text it to Mike, and she's like, they must hate it when you go for a walk because there's always... But the neat thing about it is I was at a CVB meeting the other day, and a very prominent individual of the city said, hey, I just wanted to shout out to Osage Beach because people come in from out of town and they look around and they see grass and trash, and Osage Beach just looks great. And so thank you to all of you who participated in that. I thought it was really, really nice. Of all the towns represented, I think Osage Beach, and we got a good thing going, so thank you very much.
Awesome.
That's all I have. So with that being said, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Alderman Rose, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Hoffman, all those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Why do you laugh so much, Rosie?
Just that way.